Hello, hello. This is Dr. Kimani, a licensed clinical psychologist, and we are talking today about Black women healing from toxic workplaces and stages of grief. So, welcome to my channel, Lifting As We Climb Consulting Wellness Services, in which we talk about supporting individual and collective healing. So thank you for joining. As I mentioned today, we're going to be talking about Black women healing from toxic workplaces. Many of you may have joined in already where I had conversations with different Black women who are experiencing workplace bullying. But because I've gotten such a high number of requests. I thought I was going to be finished last month, but Black women have been reaching out to me and saying, please continue these conversations. We don't have a space to be able to talk about it, in the sense of knowing that we're not alone and knowing how to get support. So I am continuing the conversation. However, I want to let you know that I've expanded the focus. So it's not only on Black women experiencing workplace bullying. We're looking at Black women experiencing work stress and just generally toxic work environments. I do want to give a shout out to Dr. Carrie Yazid, who has been doing work in this area. If you have not already gotten her book, I strongly recommend that you get her book, which is outstanding, in which different Black women are talking about their experiences of toxic work environments. And so it's an anthology. But today I wanted to follow up into what I talked about during the last video in relation to toxic work environments and experiencing grief. Because many times when we're in toxic work environments, we think, oh, I'm getting out the environment, everything's good, I'm going to feel so much better. And we may not recognize why we don't feel better. And that's because we haven't acknowledged the grief that's involved with leaving and acknowledging that you have been in a toxic work environment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just talk for a little bit today in terms of just little nuggets in relation to going over the stages of grief. And then we're also going to be talking about some healing tips. So in the mental health field, we talk a lot about the stages of grief in terms of the Kubler-Ross model. So I'm going to be just breaking that down. So today I'm going to be talking about one stage and recognize that the stages aren't linear. So we might go back and forth through different phases of the different stages. Okay. So the first stage is denial. Okay, so when we think about stages of grief, as I mentioned in the previous video, the grief may be related to the realization that the job that you thought that you were coming into or what you thought that you might be able to accomplish in that job comes to the realization that that has not really happened and there might be some disappointments or disillusionment. So that's the one thing. The other thing is that you may recognize that those people that you thought that you work with, you thought that they were your friends, you thought they had your back. You may come to the realization that no, they're not your friends. And, people that you may have trusted may have betrayed you in some way. So that's generally where the grief may come from. So when we think about the stages of grief, so denial can relate to not really recognizing in that moment the depth of the toxicity. So not recognizing that, we may focus on one particular supervisor or one particular, colleague or coworker, but not recognizing that the whole system is toxic. So when you think about toxic work environments, the work environment supports in many ways this toxic way of being. And so many times we stay at the surface level and we don't recognize all the different ways that the system may support a toxic work system. So we're in denial about that. And also we may be in denial in recognizing that we have been harmed in these environments because many times as Black women, we don't want to acknowledge that we've been harmed because many times we have to present a certain image. So on the one hand, we have the stereotype of the strong Black woman, and we are strong, right? But there are times that we get harmed and sometimes we may not feel like it's okay to admit that we've been harmed because we might feel that people might judge us, we might judge ourselves. But the issue is when we don't acknowledge that we've been harmed, how do we really heal? How do we heal? So I remember hearing a young Black woman saying a quote, you can't heal what you don't reveal. So if we don't reveal we're hurting, then how can we heal? So it's important to acknowledge that we've been hurt so we can heal. So the healing tips I'm going to offer for today are, number one, please show ourselves loving kindness. Just in terms of, wow, we have gone through a lot. We're still standing. We've been harmed, but also knowing that we can get help, we can get support, we can go to therapy. So there's different things that we can do for support, but initially we need to be able to acknowledge that we've been hurt. Okay. Now you don't want to broadcast that to everybody. There's some people that you don't want them to know that you've been harmed, but who in your circle can you let people know that you've been harmed so they can offer you support? Okay. So in summary, as I said, I'm just going to be on for just a few minutes today. So in summary, we talked about sometimes in toxic work environments, there may be a grief, reaction, and it may confuse us. And so I'm going to be coming on every Monday to talk to you just very briefly in terms of the stages of grief. And we're going to unpack that. So today we talked about denial and what denial may look like in terms of the system and not recognizing how the system itself may be toxic, right? And we may just be focusing on just one or few people, and also not recognizing how we've been harmed. So in terms of all those things I talked about, the healing tip is that we need to be able to acknowledge we've been harmed so we can get the support that we need. Okay, so that was a summary of our time together today. I will be sharing more videos, as I mentioned before, talking about Black women in toxic workplaces and offering healing tips. Okay, so I'll be coming on talking about these different issues. If you would like to share any information about how this resonates with you, or if you would like to share this video with other people, please feel free to do so. I ask that you subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications, please note in the comment section. And I just want to say that, the reason that I'm really providing this platform too is that I recognize the power of testimony. And I recognize that so many times as Black women, we're not given a voice to talk about situations that we go through, hardships that we go through. And when we're not given a voice, or we're told that we're not able or should not speak, that is a form of oppression. So we're being silenced. Okay. So I'm shattering that. I'm shattering the notions that we need to be silenced. We are speaking loud. We're speaking up. And we're saying this is unacceptable, okay? And I also want to emphasize that there's choice. We're in situations that we recognize that there are options, okay? So I also want to let you know that I am launching a coaching program for Black women who are interested in leaving toxic work environments, because again, we need to get our minds together and we need to heal so that we're in a better position to really be in professional environments that really nurture our professional well-being and our growth, okay? So I want to thank you so much for joining today. I look forward to seeing you during our next live. And again, please go to my YouTube channel and subscribe, turn on notifications, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you for joining.